Hey everybody, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to today's live webinar. We're going to be talking about if you are a real estate agent, how the heck do you find and keep investor clients like Brandon who bring you repeat business? All right. I'm your host, Brady. I'm with Rent Ready, and I'm very honored to introduce you to a friend here, Mr. Brandon Turner. Most of you already know who he is. In case you don't, he's a real estate investor who's tried almost every strategy in the book. He's been around the block. He's the former host of the Bigger Pockets podcast with over 100 million downloads. He's the founder of Open Door Capital and the Better Life Tribe. But most importantly, Brandon, I think you're just a selfless, positive guy. You're fun to be around. You're a joy to do business with. So welcome on the webinar, man. How you doing?
Well, thanks, man. Right back at you. I'm excited to be here. I love talking real estate. I'm a real estate nerd at heart, so it should be fun.
Absolutely. Well, I hope everybody else on this webinar is too. And if you're not, you might be on the wrong webinar. Anyways, it's good to have you, man. And I also want to say thank you to our partners at NAR, National Association of Realtors, for helping us put this webinar together. So thank you guys. If you could do me a favor, everybody watching, we want to make this a two-way street. We want this to be interactive. So let us know what market you're in and what you're hoping to get out of today in the chat. And we're going to be answering questions as we go. So here's how this is going to work. Essentially, this is going to be more of a live interview. I'm going to be running through some questions with Brandon, and I'm going to be interviewing him, and then put your questions in as we go. And then we'll do a Q&A at the end. If there's any urgent ones, I'll take those along. But we got some really good questions from you guys in the registration form in advance. So, yeah, let's make this interactive. But Brandon, okay, so knowing most of our audience today is real estate agents, help me understand why the right investor clients like yourself are so valuable to an agent if they don't already know.
Yeah, let's. I'd love to start by kind of addressing the elephant in the room. A lot of agents hate working with investors because they've worked with an quote unquote investor. And so you said something you said the right investor, because just like there's how many bad agents are there for every good agent? There's a lot of them, right? 80-20 rule applies to everything. And so, yeah, you don't want a bunch of investor quote unquote clients. You want a bunch of the right investor clients, investors like me who buy multiple properties every single year. I've scaled up obviously to like a large commercial portfolio at this point. I think we're at 14,000 units, something like that.
That's awesome.
But I lived in a small town. I worked with my agent, and we would buy roughly 5 to 10 different properties every year. And then we would sell a few of them every year. I'd flip some houses, I'd do some rentals. So my agent was getting between 5 and 15 sometimes transactions every single year. And I was the absolute easiest client he ever had to work with. Like, I never complained about things. He understood what I was doing. He understood. Yeah, we just had this rapport. So it was super simple. I didn't nickel and dime him because I didn't care about trying to get, every single penny reduced. Like, how many times have you worked with a normal client and they start just getting weird about like, at the end, and all of a sudden you're like giving up part of your commission to fix the stove because the seller didn't want to do it and the buyer didn't want to pay. The whole thing just gets messy, right? And so the agents just get screwed at some point. But like most investors, they just want somebody easy that's good to work with. So if you get a good investor client, they're just going to help you make more money with repeat business. You don't have to like wait every 7 years for somebody to sell a house. You get multiple times a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of the ways that you've used agents over the years? What are the different things you've used them for?
Yeah, obviously the buying and selling is the obvious, the first thing. I only really starting out, even the first 15 years of my career, I only ever bought on the MLS. Like, I would use a real estate agent. In fact, my very first deal I ever bought before I wanted to get into real estate, I was bowling with a friend of mine, and her sister was a real estate agent. And when I asked her, I was like, hey, do you know any houses for rent? She was like, no, but I can. Well, she's like, yeah, but I can get you one to buy one. So that was my first time working with an agent, and she helped me buy my very first house. I rented out all the bedrooms, got to live for free, and I thought, this is cool. So anyway, I use agent for that, but I use it for a lot more than that too. Like, my agent and I have and had. In fact, funny story, my agent who I worked with for 12 plus years, we ended up such a great relationship. I ended up just hiring him, and now he works for me full time within my company and helps run a bunch of different parts of my company, which is, side note, just shows like a good relationship will go places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use them for things like market comps. Like that's one of the most useful things an investor wants is like, I want to buy that house and then fix it up, but I don't know what it's going to be worth when it's all done. Can you give me some comps? That's huge. I use it for that. I use it for like trends. Like, what do people actually care about right now in the market? Where do they care about in the market? Are people moving one direction versus another? Do people like this area more? Like, I don't know that stuff. I'm a landlord. I know what people like for rent, but I don't know what people want to buy or sell. So I use my agent a lot for that. And then just understanding, like, I'm not good at negotiations. Like, I'm really not. Like, I'm terrible at it. So my agent helps me negotiate on both the buy and sell front, and they're always very helpful for that.
Interesting. It's funny to hear a guy with over 14,000 doors say, "I'm terrible at negotiations."
Yeah, terrible. I don't want to do it. I got my agent do that. They're good at that.
I appreciate the honesty. Okay, so I know there's going to be, like you said, a lot of resistance just from the simple fact that a lot of agents don't want to work with investors. So to try and overcome that gap a little bit, how much money do you think a steady real estate investor like yourself can help put in an agent's pocket in terms of like commissions every year?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my agent was making well. I mean, now we were in a low price area. So when I was buying early on, I was in, my average purchase price was 100, 150. So we were lower price, but I mean, he was, for me alone, probably doing, again, 10 transactions a year on average between the buying and the selling. So you can extrapolate it out to your market, but I mean, he was making well over six figures just from me on commissions, which is wild. And again, that was going back 10 years. Today, I got friends that are buying, like, again, I buy a lot of bigger stuff today, but I got friends right now today are buying 20, 30, 40, 50 houses a year. And their agents are making, a lot more than that. So a lot more than my agent was. So
yeah, there's money to be made
for sure.
Yeah, partnering up. Interesting. So what are some of the side benefits that you see of for the agent of working with investors? Like, what are some of the things that you bring to the table to make the agent's life better, just besides the obvious commission?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, so much of an agent's job is out there trying to get new business, right? Because again, until you have this giant book of business that just comes in naturally, you don't have to work for it anymore. Until you get to that point, you're just always out there hunting for that. Like, imagine you're hunting for a deer. You're out in the woods, you're looking for a deer, you're just hunting that deer. But once you kill the deer is gone, and you got to go out and hunt again. An investor's more like you set up a trap. And so you get food all the time. Like, you get food over and over. And so obviously, again, the repeat business means you can focus on, like, you basically buy back your time, because one good investor client is worth, I would argue, 30 other clients, because again, the repeat nature of the business. But here's another benefit that I don't think is talked about enough, is that the right investors understand the investment side of real estate, right? And I know that sounds obvious, but let's just be honest. Most agents don't understand the investment side. Like, they see us doing it, but they don't really get it. And you can read a book on it, you can watch a YouTube video on it, but you don't really get it until you do it, right? So by an agent being again, my agent, a good example, like, he went out there and started buying rental properties and built up a nice net worth, and he's made a lot of money off it because of watching me, because of working with me. And then he could then pick my brain on, like, hey, I think I'm going to go buy this rental property. What do you think? And I'm like, great, let me help you with that. And so that's, like, not talked about enough, is building relationships with people who are good at turning, 100,000 into 10 million. Like, that's a person you want, like, to be friends with, like, in life. It's just a good friendship.
Yeah. Interesting. It's the shortcut to investing, which is funny because it's like, we're talking about how, like, a lot of agents just simply don't want to work with investors, but I think there's more agents that do want to start investing themselves, but still don't quite want to work with investors. So there's a gap to be bridged.
Yeah, in every real estate agent, I believe, should invest in real estate. I mean, if for no other reason, the tax benefits alone are stupid good. And because your real estate agents are already a real estate professional, you can offset, like, your spouse's W-2 income with rental property depreciated, cash flow, which I don't want to go deep on that, but, like, geez, it's so good. And agents have, like, the best shot at getting that real estate professional status tax write-off. So anyway, you guys can look into that more if you want to, but just know that you are sitting on a gold mine of saving money on taxes. If you're not investing in real estate, what are you doing? I highly recommend it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's a big one. Okay, so I got one more question on the why we should be working together side, and then we'll start to get into the tactics of, like, how to work well together. Do you have any maybe stories or examples of where an agent has called on an investor like you to get a deal over the finish line, where without investors they would have kind of just been stuck?
I'll give you one example. You tell me if this wasn't the direction you're going to go, though. Is there have been times where I've had an agent, like my agent or even other agents, who have been trying to sell a property and then something fell through, but the seller absolutely had to close. There was some reason, right? So they'll come to me as an investor and be like, hey, this guy needs to close. Money is not his number one priority here. His priority is he's got whatever, deadbeat uncle living in the house that's got a problem. They need him out. Can you solve that problem for him? So they'll often pull me in, and I bought multiple houses that way just by being well known in the community as an investor that can solve a problem.
Yeah.
Now, I am not the kind of investor, and y'all know investors like this, right? That are out there just trying to steal your commissions, and they're trying to wholesale these deals, which is gray area as it is, maybe even worse than gray area in some areas. Like that's not me. Like I buy and sell on the MLS with real estate agents almost entirely when I'm buying residential stuff. I'm not trying to steal a commission from any agent. I want agents to go out there and do it. And so, yeah, it kind of actually has worked both ways. There's been other times where I want to get somebody comes to me privately. They reach out, a family member heard about me or told somebody, and then I will take that and be like, oh, great. I don't want to do the transaction. I'll go then to my agent and be like, hey, can you handle the transaction on both sides of this and get it done? Because again, yes, I can buy off market. Like I could do it that way. But I like working with an agent because I just know that my T's are going to be crossed and my I's are going to be dotted much better. So it kind of works both ways. I can sometimes help solve an agent's problem in becoming a buyer real quickly, and sometimes the other way around as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what I was answering or what I was asking. We got chat's already blowing up. Thanks guys for putting in good questions. I forgot to have you mention, Brandon, what markets are you in right now?
Yeah, so so my original market, I'll start with there. I still own property there. Was Western Washington, and an area called Grays Harbor. So it's like Aberdeen, Washington, was kind of my main market. Today I moved out of there. I moved to Maui, Hawaii. So I've got property in Maui now. I've got a couple 4 condos and another house there with some rental units there. And then I buy a lot of the Midwest. So I buy Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota. Those are probably my 3 biggest markets. And then Texas, I have a lot of multifamily in Texas. I think we own 4,000 or 5,000 units down there. And then a little bit just kind of in the spattering in between there. So a little bit in Georgia, a little bit in Florida, a little bit in Indiana, and kind of all over. And a lot of those are mobile home parks. I've been picking up a lot of mobile home parks lately.
Oh, interesting.
Which is something also as an agent, for those of you watching, sometimes people come to you with these weird properties like a mobile home park that don't really fit on the MLS, but you put them there anyway. Sometimes just having an investor you can call and be like, I don't even know how to value this thing. Like, I don't even know what to look at when it's like, this is a weird property. Investors can come in handy for that as well. I'm not saying you have to go sell it to that person, but again, having friends that are investors can help you figure out, I don't even know where to turn to go. Oh, I know this guy that does mobile home parks. Go talk to him. And sometimes you can pull off a good deal that way.
Yeah, that's great. So I got one question here in the chat about your buy box in the early days, and then I'll keep going with my flow here. Keep the questions coming, everyone. If I'm not answering them right now, we'll answer them later. Dan says, could you talk about what the on-market buy box was for your early deals? I have an awesome agent. She was originally my landlady. Felt like she has my back. I don't want to waste her time though. Anyways, I'm trying not to waste the agent's time. So what's a good buy? Yeah. What was your buy box early on?
Yeah, I wanted properties. Essentially I wanted properties that were the lowest, like 20% of the average, like the purchase price. In my area, again, it was 100 to 150 was like kind of an average price. So I wanted to be like at the bottom edge of that. Like I wanted cheap properties. And I know that sounds like obvious. And maybe it is, but I just wanted fixer-uppers. Like I wanted stuff that was nasty, that smelled bad, that looked bad. Because here's what most people do. Even agents will do this, right? They walk into a house. Maybe some of you have all done this. You walk into a property, you smell, and you're like, oh, I got to get out of here. And like, I've had friends that do that. They're like, oh yeah, I checked out that property. It smelled so bad. Like I just turned around and left. Now, when I walk into one of those properties, I go, smells like money. Like give me the bad ones, right? So my buy box was essentially like, give me the worst of the worst. Today, I teach something to like, I have a newbie training program where I help newbies buy real estate. And the thing that we really tell them over and over and over and over is to get crystal clear on that buy box. And there's 6 parts of a buy box I think everyone should be clear on. And this applies for if you're talking to an investor and you're trying to pick up an investor client, or you're trying to tell an investor about a deal. These are 6 things I think investors need to care about more than anything. Number 1 is, what strategy are you trying to pursue? Are you trying to flip this house? Are you trying to rent it? Is it going to be an assisted living facility, like a residential assisted living? Or are you going to do is this a midterm rental or is this a short term? Like, what are you going to do with this property? So strategy and then property type. And so is that a single family house? Is it a small multifamily? What is it? Location, where exactly, like submarket, market, street, all that. Condition, like do you want it fixed up? Do you want it nasty? You want it to smell bad? Price range, what's too small? What's too much? And then what I call profitability. So like what would make it a good deal? And this is how you know an investor is worth working with. If you go talk to an investor and they're like, and you say, hey, well, what are you looking for? And they say, any deal. Well, great. Aren't we all, right? Like, good job. Pat you on the back, move on your way. But if somebody came to you and said, yeah, I'm really looking for like a duplex somewhere on like the south side of Cincinnati, but I need it under $300,000. What would you say? You'd be like, heck yeah, I can help you find that. Like all of a sudden you're leaning in, you're engaged, and you realize they know what they're doing. And so the same thing applies to you. When you can give that clarity to a client and be like, what's your buy box? Tell me this, what strategy you're trying to do? What location you're going to buy in? All of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, this agent's on it. They get it. So anyway, today, I mean, I can tell you my buy box today, but it doesn't matter as much. I'm buying mostly mobile home parks. But I'm also buying rent by the room houses. So I guess I can say that. I want houses that have 2,500 square feet, somewhere in the Atlanta, like a submarket of Atlanta, preferably more like the Stone Mountain area, that has 2,500 square feet and has at least 4 bedrooms, so I can turn it into maybe 6 bedrooms. And that's kind of what I'm buying today.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love that 6-step process too. That's great. Yeah, and the agent should be asking investors if they do come to them with like, yeah, I want any deal. That's a good filter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about how to work well together, and then we'll get to some more questions. So what things do investor savvy agents understand that maybe your average agent doesn't? In other words, like what qualities are you looking for when partnering up with an agent?
Yeah, I've been through tours at houses before with agents who they can't get away from the, look at the cute kitchen. Could you just imagine your family sitting? I'm like, it's not for me. It's a rental. And they're like, oh, that's right. And then like a minute later, they're like, oh, and this bathroom just shines. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just don't care. I mean, yes, I can see that. And so when an investor agent, like an investor friendly agent, I want them. I have an acronym for this. If you want to, you guys like acronyms? I like acronyms. Let's see if I can come up with it. I put it in one of my books, right? It was on fire. Like I want an agent who's on fire. So what does on fire mean? Let me see if I can get this all right. O was they are. Oh shoot! I'm gonna forget the very first one. Let me come back to O. N was networking, like networked. In other words, I need them to know the good contractors. I need them to know the best lender in the area, lots of good lenders. I need them to know I need a new flooring. They're going to be like, oh yeah, talk to that company. They do really good flooring. So in other words, they're just around in their community. They understand a lot of things. Man, I'm going to forget that O one. I'll come back to it. O and F is like for you. In other words, they're not for themselves. Many agents, you guys know agents like this, right? Who are all in it for themselves. They would have a client buy a bad deal just because they want to make commission. But I want an investor who says, don't buy that one, even though I would make a commission. Like, I don't think it's a good investment for you. Like, my opinion is that this is not good. And I'm not saying they're going to tell me what to buy and what not to buy per se, but I need them to be looking out for me and my interests. So it's for you.
In other words, they're passing up on some deals. They should be.
Exactly. Yeah. Like their goal is to help me over my long-term career, not just in the moment, so they can make a little bit more commission.
Yeah.
So let's see. There's the it's gonna drive me absolutely nuts if I can't remember it. Whatever. Okay. So focus. N was networked, focused on you. I is investment savvy. So again, they should understand the basics of investments. So they should understand what is cash flow, what is cash on cash return. I mean, there's like how do you determine what market rent would be for a property? Like they should just understand basic terms like that. They should understand what fair housing laws are, so they're not screwing up that stuff. And again, you guys all know that as part of your training anyway.
Yeah.
But that'd be helpful to know that. And FIR, responsive was R, meaning you got to respond to me fairly quick. And this is a lot of agents struggle with this, but it's like, man, good deals go quick, right? Like good deals go quick. So I need you to be able to respond quickly. And it doesn't mean you're around 24/7, but you built systems that are, I don't care if it's AI. I need somebody to help me when I need help, and
Yeah.
not wait until the next day, because that deal's gone by the next day.
Yeah.
And then the last one, E, is experienced. Like, I love to give newbies a shot. You know, it would be great, but not on an investment deal that's worth millions of dollars to me, right? Like,
Yeah.
and here's the thing: every house is worth millions of dollars to me. When you think of over a 30 or 40-year time span, if I buy a rental house, even if it's a $200,000 house, when you add up the cash flow over 30 years, the loan getting paid down to nothing, the appreciation, it's well over $1 million every single deal. So these are big stakes. Organized. So many agents are disorganized. They're just absolutely disorganized, and they're running their whole business off scraps of paper that are taped to the window of their car. It's just like, it's a mess, right? So I want somebody who's organized, who's networked with their community, who is for you, who's investment savvy, responsive, and experienced. Look at that. I figured it out.
Nice. That's great. That's great. We didn't even need to use the crowd. The crowd was like, Curtis, like, come on, we'll look it up. What book is it?
I know.
Appreciate you guys.
I was about to Google my book. I'm like, I just put it in a book like a couple of years ago.
It's like,
Anyway,
you got to
got
stay
it.
mentally sharp. That's good. So I think you might have just answered my next question, but I'll ask it anyways. Do you have any vetting questions to determine, or I guess for an agent, like any vetting questions an agent should be asking an investor to see if they're serious, or the other way around? You know, I had a few other questions related to this come in where it's like, how do I know if someone's going to waste my time? Really?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest questions. Yeah, in the same way, I mean, yes, I'm not saying don't give newbies a chance. Give newbies a chance, like help them. But even with a newbie, like who's brand new, so first of all, if I come to you and I've already bought 20 investment properties in the last 3 years, I'm probably not going to waste your time. I'm probably a legit investor. Great, you should definitely work with me. If I come to you and I'm looking for my very first one, yeah, a lot of them are tire kickers. So I'm not saying be rude to them, but I would ask them a few basic questions like, do you have your like financing lined up? And a lot of times they'll be like, well, I'll figure that out when I get down to it. It would not be bad for you to force them to be like, well, I need you to go get pre-approved or show me how you're going to finance this. If they're part of some program online, again, like I've got programs, lots of people have programs. I would actually put that as a positive light that they've actually put money toward their education to learn this stuff, to do it the right way. And they have someone they can go call. But if they're just figuring this out because they watched a HGTV episode on flipping houses and they're like, I'm going to go do that. Definitely be a little bit more wary. And then again, if they're specific with their criteria, if they just want a deal, run. Like they're probably going to waste your time.
Yeah.
And there's ways, keep them on your list or get him comps. That doesn't take a whole lot of time. Have your assistant get him comps. You never know who's going to turn out to be ended up, being the investor that buys 20 or 30 units. But
Yeah.
you can usually tell the person who just watched an HGTV show and they're just kicking tires.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Show me the money. Show me the funding. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, if you haven't figured out the funding angle, like we got a problem. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see agents make when working with investors?
Yeah, treating an agent like I don't know what the word is, like just disrespectful. Like they're just like a tool, like
Yeah.
agent, do this. Dance, monkey dance,
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's like agents are partnered in the deal. Like, it's like, I mean, not from a legal equity standpoint, but like, I need a good agent and good agent needs me. We work together. And so we want to have like a relationship that respects one another. And I think, again, a lot of people look at an agent as, wow, they're making a lot of money for not doing any work, right? Like that's what everyone thinks about agents, is they're making all this money without doing any work, because people only see a couple things that they do. They get the phone call and they think that's it.
Yeah.
And
Until you get close up and you realize, oh man, they're doing a million things.
yeah, they're doing a million things, and they're doing a million things that are just like annoying. It's, like that I don't want to deal with. And they're having the weird conversations with the seller or the buyer that, so it's not being entitled. Like, I think a lot of investors might, again, just treat agents as like, hey, get this done. Give me this comp, versus like, treating them with respect, asking, and then doing the same, like giving feedback. And like if an agent sends me a deal and I don't like it, I'm going to send back feedback on what I don't like about it, versus just like ghosting them, which I think most investors would just ghost them. But like, you guys don't know what's in my head. So like, I want to train you. Like I want to train you, and I want you to train me into how to best work with you. If you don't like text message, if you rather have an email, then fine. Let's talk about that. Let's be open in communication with how we want to work together, so that both of us get what we want out of the relationship.
That's good. So what about the other way around? Any like one killer mistake that you see agents making that maybe causes them to lose that relationship with an investor?
Yeah, I think it's the responsiveness probably more than anything. Like if a deal pops up again, it's just speed. I mean, like there have been agents I've had in the past that I text them or call them and it's the next day. And in the world of investing, the next day is gone. Like the deal is gone.
Yeah.
It's hard to find those. Also, this is not a mistake, but maybe it's an opportunity. The best deals in real estate, maybe we're going to cover this later, I don't know, but the best deals in real estate are typically not found. They're not just sitting on the MLS. This is not 2012 anymore, right? You can't just go and buy a foreclosure that's half price right now. But the deals are often made by seeing hidden things. And so like an agent might see a deal that has it's a 2-bedroom house. Well, I don't buy 2-bedroom houses, or my client doesn't buy 2-bedroom houses, but then not realize the house is 2,800 square feet. Now, what would you think if you found a 2-bedroom house that's 2,800 square feet? What would you assume there?
There's your co-living house you're looking for.
Exactly, it's perfect for a co-living, and there should be about 8 of them, like 8 houses, or 8 bedrooms in that house, and there's like 2. So it means either A, somebody screwed up on the listing, or B, you could add some bedrooms in. Now all of a sudden that deal that didn't look right, nobody was looking at right, now there's an opportunity there. So I guess I would look at it, the mistake is not thinking a layer deeper maybe on helping your clients.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking what is, start thinking what could be. Like, what could this property be? Oh, there's a big backyard. Interesting. Maybe we can add an ADU. I know my investor client has been looking at these auxiliary dwelling units, like adding a boxable to the backyard. Maybe I could do that.
Yeah. Okay. That's great, man. I love that. Hey, real quick, everybody watching, if you could let me know if the audio and video looks good, give me a quick yes in the chat just so we can be double sure. Looks good to me, but a couple people say maybe it's your internet connection, maybe you refresh, but let me know a quick yes in the chat. Mike Crane asked, what are examples of how investors are loyal to their agents? Is it as simple as they just keep coming back, bringing them deals?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yes. Like, again, what I value is speed and simplicity and ease on getting transactions done, because it's often a fairly volume game, for investors. I mean, more or less depending on what their strategy is. But like, if you're charging 2.5% versus 3%, it's really not a big deal to me when I'm buying 10 houses a year. I mean, I might negotiate with you a little bit if we're going to do a volume, but like, I care more about the fact that you're responsive and you're, easy to work with. So again, yeah, loyalty, I will just go the same one until that person's not good anymore. I mean, again, my agent lasted a long time. I did have a couple before my agent that I worked with for 12 years. I had a couple before that and they were fine. But here's the thing. It's like, I was always chasing them to find me a deal, if that makes sense. The agent that I ended up working with for a long time, he would think of me and then bring things to me that he was out there in the market seeing, right? And that was a little different. Like, I mean, that was the difference, is like, he was thinking about me when I wasn't calling him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so he was proactive, not reactive. And so the proactivity is such an underrated skill for a real estate agent. So maybe even just thinking about, like, if you have investor clients right now, maybe spend 5 minutes a week, just like put that person's picture up on your screen and go, what are they looking for? Let me go find something that's even, like, maybe not even exactly that, but let me just send him anyway and say, hey, I was just thinking about you when I saw this property. What do you think?
Yeah.
An investor would be like, they were thinking about me? Wow. Like, that would be such an ego build to an investor. And then they're gonna like you. Ego is a big piece of being an investor. Like, maybe agents too, but investors are a little bit egomaniacs. And so, like, like, they want to be liked and they want to be talked about and thought about. And so, yeah.
Well, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about speed. It's like the investors move it like 3 to 5 times faster than probably the typical person they're used to working with. And so, that responsiveness is a big deal.
Yeah, agreed. And then you're dealing with a lot less emotions too. I didn't say that earlier, but like, first time home buyers especially, but you all know, just when you're dealing with like homeowners, man, everything's such like a tragic, such a whatever. It's like they didn't like my, the doily that was on top of the stove. I can't imagine, it's just like stupid stuff. And investors are just way more like math and tactical.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but generally speaking, especially the more experienced investor you get, the more tactical they are.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Which I appreciate. It's less energy. I feel like it's easier to just be cut and dry, blunt.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't
just
have
show
to
me
dance.
the numbers. Like
Yeah,
my
exactly.
agent and I just had a great rapport because it was about numbers. Like it was about math. I'm not hooked on any deal, buying or selling. Like it's just math. It's just numbers. So let's just get the numbers and get the data as fast as possible, and let's move on.
That's good. Okay, so Brandon, I've heard you say that deals aren't found; they're made. Can you talk to me about that, and what role does an agent play in that?
Yeah, exactly. So I briefly touched on this concept earlier, but I would love to go a little deeper. This is like the number one thing I teach new investors today is that what worked in 2012 doesn't work today. And so for like rental properties, let's say. So back in 2012, you just bought a foreclosure and it was $80,000 and you rented it out for $1,500 a month. And you were paying a 3% interest on it, so your mortgage payment was like $6. Like you just made money, right? Everything was easy. So people trying to do that today just doesn't work. The math isn't there. And so today, instead, we find opportunities by looking for hidden value. Now, that might be, I mentioned earlier, imagine turning a 4-bedroom house into a 6-bedroom house and then renting out every bedroom separately. Now, there's some legal gray area around that I don't want to go too deep into right now. There's ways around it and whatever. But the idea being, all of a sudden you take a property that would rent for $2,000 and you can get $6,000 out of it. Like that's wild. That you made opportunity happen. Another example is we've got about I don't even know what the number is, 100 million old people in America that are going to be like retiring in the next few years. Like we're going to keep them alive for a long time. We don't have enough housing for all these old people. So I think residential assisted living is going to be massive. Well, what's that? It's like literally just a house that you rent each bedroom out to an old person and then you have on-site care. That's an interesting strategy. Midterm rentals are super powerful right now. Imagine a duplex that you have, and the duplex has a 1-bedroom, 1-bath on each side. Well, what's it going to rent for? Like, I don't know, let's call it $1,200 each side. Okay, so you get $2,400 a month. But a midterm rental could get, if it was just furnished and rented to traveling nurses, could probably get $2,500 to $3,000 per side. Same property, different strategy. So in today's market, I always think of like what's a better use for this property that could make more money, that could turn it from mediocre or bad investment into a great one. And so as an agent, what you can do is you can help investors think that way. Like just open your mind to the idea that there's more than one way to make money on a rental property. I mean, there's tons of ways. And so like my favorite being generally like midterm rentals. I like that. I like rent by the room, which is what I mentioned earlier. I like residential assisted living. There's things like sober living houses that are super powerful right now. There's a lot out there, but that's what I mean is you got to kind of make deals today. You got to make it work. And if you can make it work, great.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of just showing the agent, hey, here's the different things I can do with a house. Here's so that they're not just looking at, okay, what could it rent for traditionally?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, a few more questions. If an agent wants to get, let's say like 20 transactions a year from investors alone, what are the couple things that they should master, like really focus on, really be good at?
Yeah. If you want to do a lot, I mean, investors are looking for good deals, right? They're looking for investments. And so you're going to want to learn their criteria, right? You want to really like make sure you understand your investors' criteria. And then you're going to need to build some sort of funnel to attract that type of deal. Because those deals are not necessarily just going to set on the MLS. I mean, like, yes, they're going to be there. But if you can help the client find them somehow better, whether you're making them, whether you're helping them analyze those deals ahead of time, whether you can just, you're just going to need a way to get, I mean, if they want to buy 20 deals a year, they're going to have to analyze and make offers on hundreds. So how would you get hundreds a year of opportunities in front of an investor client? Answering that question is how you're going to be able to help them buy 20. And again, they might have their own systems and their own analysis and whatever. So then it just becomes how quick can you respond to them, and how can you just make it easy for them to be able to just like, I mean, for example, like if you're still requiring, and again, maybe there's a state law, I don't know. If you're still requiring them to like personally sign every offer that they're making, like this is a lot of work, like versus like again, most of us are probably digital signing here, but how can you make that easier? Have you looked at your digital signing process and seen if it sucks or not? Because most agents, their digital process sucks for signing. Like it's really annoying on a phone to do it.
Yeah.
There's a few companies that do it really well, and there's a lot that do it really poorly. So again, making it easy for the investor so that they can just focus on what they do best, and you can focus on making the transaction just go swimmingly, I think would help. And then you can sometimes provide more additional value to potentially to clients. And what I mean by that is maybe again you have contractor recommendations. You can help them in that flow through easier. Or you have financing connections. You can help them raise more capital or raise more money so that they can buy more deals that way. Those are all ways you can provide more value so that they can just buy more deals.
Okay, that's fantastic, man. Okay, a couple questions on like tactically how agents can find investors, and then I'm going to start taking some of the questions from the live audience because I see your guys' questions coming in. Where do agents find investors like you?
Yeah, so there are investment clubs in almost every city in America. There's different names for them. They're just real estate like associations. National RIA is a big one. I think there's over 100 locations for that one. But if you go to like meetup.com, you will find like meetups all over. They happen in bars and in pizza places and restaurants. Sometimes in real estate agent offices. They're all over. Every major city's got them. A lot of them all the time. Investors just are always networking, and they're usually pretty casual. A big difference between the real estate agent world and the investor world, at least like my investor world, like the mom and pop investor world, is like we are very blue collar. Like I'm wearing a Nike sweatshirt right now, right? Like I'm not wearing. Some of you are probably in a suit right now. I haven't worn a suit in 30 years since like my grandma's funeral. So like I don't. It's a different vibe. And so it's when you think networking, you might be thinking of like a stuffy room where everyone's got a little "Hello, my name is" tag, and you're wearing suits and you're walking around. It's typically more like a bunch of people loud at a bar. It's much more blue collar. But show up to those and just go and talk to people and have a good time. And if you can't find a good meetup in your local area, oh, hallelujah, you get to start one. Like you get to be the connector of the investment community in your town. Like what? That's a stupid good position to be in if you're the person everyone goes to. So like, yeah, meetups are by far the best way to do it. I mean, you can also, connect online. There's a lot of different forums, things like Bigger Pockets. You can just be active there. A lot of agents get clients that way. You can obviously pay for it. There's a lot of, you pay per lead kind of a thing, just like you guys do with Zillow, and Bigger Pockets has that service as well. Meetups. I mean, meetups and online groups, online Facebook groups. Every single city has multiple investor Facebook groups. Just go join a bunch and then just network. Don't be weird. I mean, don't be like, as soon as somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for a contractor. I don't know a contractor, but I'm an agent and I can work with you. Like, don't be that guy. But connect people and talk to them and build relationships. Networking is just a fancy word for friendships, I think.
Yeah.
And so build friendships.
I love that. And I would agree, like the blue collar, more party sentiment versus the professional sentiment. It's real.
Did you notice?
Yeah.
So I had this REI Summit, which is a big real estate investing conference we put on every year. It was like, a week and a half ago. Before that event, there was another real estate conference. I don't know, Brady, if you were there then, but there was another conference that was like, it was like corporate student housing of America conference, whatever. Anyway, so I showed up early, not for that event, but just because I wanted to be in town before my event. And the number of blue suit coats in that hotel was absurd. I mean, there was probably, everywhere you look, there's a 28-year-old dude with a blue suit coat on. It was just thousands of them everywhere. It's like they all got like told, like that's the requirement is you had to wear a blue suit coat with a tan belt or tan pants, brown belt, brown shoes. And they all looked alike, sounded alike. They all like were very formal. They all had the "Hello, my name is" sticker. And then you compare that to the REI Summit, and everyone's coming in there just like, T-shirt and gym clothes, and like, what a difference. So
the uniform is a blue suit, and then the investor uniform is a beard and a black shirt.
That's what it is.
The go-to.
Beard and a black shirt. That's all you need.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so one big question, then we'll hop to the live questions here. How does an agent position themselves as the investor-friendly agent in their market? Or Another way to phrase it, Jason Coleman asked, what's the best way to have an investor want to work with you? How do I prove my worth if I'm competing with hundreds of other investors or hundreds of other agents?
Agents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So understand that agents, most agents are absolutely terrible. We all know that. Like
Yeah.
most agents don't do any business. They're not that good. They don't return a phone call. The bar is pretty low. This is not just agents. Most investors are terrible. Most contractors are terrible. Most people are just really terrible in America at just doing the bare minimum. So first of all, just by trying and by asking the question, you're already in like the top 10%. But how do you stand out? One is just identifying yourself as such. I'm an investor-friendly agent. If you put that on your Instagram or on your Zillow profile or whatever, investors are gonna be like, oh, I never see that. I never see that. But like, I'd be really happy to see that. I'd be like, oh, dang, this person's somebody I could work with.
That's great. It's always like number of homes sold or whatever
exactly.
neighborhood. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't
Which
know that I've
is
seen that.
Yeah, it's important, but if you can find a way to just let people know you are investment savvy, I mean, pick up a book or two. I mean, they don't have to be mine, but I've written a lot of books. Just pick up a good real estate investing book to understand the lingo, the basics, even if you haven't bought in real estate yourself as an investment. Understand like the concepts on what you're doing and then speak that language. Again, investors and landlords and flippers, we have a language. It's kind of like in like the Christian church, like I'm a church guy. I was raised in a church and I was a youth leader for a while at one, but like we call it Christianese. This is like words you use that you'd only know if you're like in the Christian church. And if you're like in the Mormon church, you would know the Mormonese. And if you're in the, the Islamic church, you'd have the Islamanese. I don't know how you'd say that one. Yeah. Like we speak a common language when you're in a certain community. Yeah. The same is true for the landlords and the flippers. We speak a common language. And you can tell pretty quick when people don't speak it. The way you learn the language is by simply listening to podcasts and reading books and, attending things like this.
And when you speak that language, the trust barrier goes down real fast.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, if you start telling me about the cute kitchen or the square, whatever, I'm like, I just don't care. Like, tell me about the price per square foot. Like, I want to know more about that.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. I appreciate you answering those. Those are really good. We got about 20 minutes here for some questions. I'm going to take a few that we had in advance, and then I see some good ones in the chat. Brandon, there's a lot of questions in the chat, like deal specific. How do you feel about those ones? I feel like they're maybe a little too nuanced. Do you want to tackle whatever?
We can try a couple.
Okay.
You throw something at me.
All right, let's see. We'll run through these because we got a lot. Aisha Panel says, as a realtor, how do I distinguish... Ooh, this is good. How do I distinguish between ethical investors and investors just wasting my time?
Yeah, good question. So ethical investors, let's start with that idea. So there are a lot of investors who I would argue are not ethical. Now, this is a tough line, right? Like, for example, if I want to buy a house from an old lady, she wants to sell her house quickly, and I want to buy the house from her, is $10,000... If I can buy her house quickly in 2 weeks and save her a lot of headache, and she could have maybe got 10,000 more on the MLS listing with an agent, blah, blah, blah. Is that a good value? Probably. Like, that's probably worth 10 grand. But what about 100 grand? Well, I don't know. Like, that's a lot of money. She could have gone to an agent and made 100 grand more. Like, now, is that unethical or is that just good business? There's no right. I mean, there's no clear answer there. You ask 10 people, you get 11 answers.
Yeah.
There's a line somewhere in there. For sure, around ethical, whatever. So when I think of ethics, I think of like, would I feel comfortable with my mom being treated the way that I'm treating an investor or a client or a seller or a buyer, whatever I'm dealing with? Like, is this how I would want somebody treating my mom? Not how I would treat my mom, because I would give her, the best deal in the world. But like, what if my mom was dealing with this investor? Would I approve? Is kind of my ethical line, so to speak. Like, yeah, if it helped my mom out of a pinch to sell to an investor instead of marketing it on the full, with an agent, sure, for a little bit of money, but somewhere in there's a line. So anyway, okay, so first of all, so ethics are interesting when it comes to real estate because it gets really messy really quick because there is no definition. It's not like the bad guy in a Disney movie who's like, I'm going to kidnap all these puppies and turn them into a coat. It's like, it's such a, like, fine line between business and taking advantage of people and just charging for a service, right? So, okay, so that on the shelf. When you're talking with an investor, you can usually tell, I think, pretty quick if they care about people at all or if they just care about their own money. Now, we all care about money, right? We all want to make money. We all are not doing this out of charity. We're doing it because we need to feed our families and we need to do that. Investors are no different. So don't think that they're going to be like, oh, I will give away all my money and make nothing just to help the world. That's the only way to ethically do this. But it's like when you talk to people, are they saying things like, well, yeah, how do we just, how do we rip this person off more? Or how do I get away with this? Or how do I don't even know. I don't even know, like,
skirt around it.
Yeah. How do I paint, lipstick on a pig this thing and hope I don't get caught? Those are more like, again, they're not going to say those words, but the questions they ask you and they talk to you are going to help you know, are they trying to do this the right way? Or are they just trying to make a quick buck to hurt somebody else down the road?
Yeah.
Again, that's a hard one, but yeah, I feel like it's a gut thing. You kind of feel like people are just in it for only themselves and they'll do anything to make a buck.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's a good filter. We got a question from Dominic Marshall. He said, as a fairly new realtor to deal with commercial investing, which you're a commercial guy, is there any advice on what certain topics to be well versed on that will provide value to my clients?
Yeah, I would say understanding how cap rates work is probably the most important thing you can do if you're dealing with a commercial real estate. So a cap rate and how that works with NOI, which is net operating income. It's just like the idea, like I'll give you the very simple thing is, as an agent, how do you value a house? A house is worth what another house like that sold for, right? We all know that. Again, that's overly simplistic, but you get the idea, right? This house is worth basically what this house is. There's similar square footage, similar to that. But with commercial real estate, there's too much variety. We can't do that. Because that one had 23,000 square foot and it was a mobile home park, and that one had 35,000 and it's a Kmart. How do you compare the two? Like you can't. And so instead we compare basically a return. And it's not really a return, but it's a percentage. We call it a cap rate. And so we can now value it based on a cap rate. And again, you can go to YouTube and find all this stuff about cap rates and how they work. But being able to understand how cap rates work, being able to understand how net operating income is figured out, those two things alone will put you a mile ahead of almost every other agent out there who's never even heard those terms.
Okay, that's fantastic. A couple of other questions that came in on, deal structuring. Where was it? Okay. Oh, Joel Reynolds, my business partner and I are going to start taking on investors for our build to rent projects. How do you structure the deal to make it attractive for investors, but still maintain strong upside for yourself?
So if I'm understanding the question right, like at some level, if you want to attract an investor client who's going to do a lot of deals, they are going to want to probably negotiate something. For example, I have a buddy who's buying 75, 80 houses a year that he's buying and then selling the same number. He's basically flipping almost all of them. So it's like 150 transactions a year. That's a lot for one agent, right? And he's got almost one agent doing all of it. So he basically pays, I think it's a flat 1% instead of the normal 2.5% to 3%. He just pays 1% to them on all that. But because it's so much volume, it's worth it for the agent and it's worth it for him because they're just getting all of them. And so expect some pushback. The more volume they do, the more they're going to want to negotiate with you. And that's every business in the world does that way. And so you've got to find out, like, what does that volume look like? I guess in my mind, I would probably make sure, and again, maybe you weren't asking quite this, but like the difference is, are you going to do 2 a year or 20 a year? And it's hard to know ahead of time because everyone's going to say, like, everyone's got visions of doing grand things. And so you might even want to in negotiations with somebody on what you're going to charge them or what it's going to be, some sort of sliding scale, like, hey, if you do more than 5, I'll drop my commission in half, on my side or whatever. Again, I'm not exactly sure if that's what you're going with that. Brady, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's kind of what they were asking.
Yeah. And again, I really believe it's like the commission is less important to an investor than the speed and the responsiveness and the intelligence behind what you're doing. Like if that agent that my buddy's working with was absolutely world-class phenomenal and hard to replace, they could probably charge the full 3% for their side.
Right.
And he'd probably still use them because it's not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, we're investors. We might as well negotiate a little bit.
Right. Exactly. So this is kind of related to deal structuring and other investors. I don't even know if there's an answer to this, but how many investors is ideal for a deal? So this person's looking at maybe doing an 8-unit multifamily with a cost of around 1 to 1.2 million to build. They said they own the land, but they want to get investors to help support the build project. How many investors?
I'll take an approach to this idea. I teach this a fair amount to like newbies who want to raise money. I would now I'm not an attorney or whatever, so make sure you do this the right way. When you're raising capital, it can be messy, but it's great. I love raising money. So when you're going, let's say you had to raise, let's just call it $300,000 because the bank's going to put up a certain amount. You got the land, the bank's going to put up some, and then you need some cash, right? Let's say you needed $300,000, hypothetically. You could get all $300,000 from one person. That is the easiest route in terms of like it's only one person. It's hard, obviously, to get one person to put in $300,000, but you could. You could also do 3 people at $100,000. You could do 6 people at $50,000. Here's what I would recommend, though, is I would do 30 people at $10,000. Now, that might sound absurd, right? But the reason for that is once somebody has committed to giving you some money, they're 10 times more likely to give you 10 times more money later, even before they make a return. Again, there's just something psychological about it. Have you guys ever been to like a program, like an online webinar or a class where they're like, hey, just sign up for $1. It's just $1. Or buy this info product for $1. Why do people do that? Like, I'm a marketer. That's what I do online. I would sell things for $1 or for $5 for a cheap price. Why? Because once you've given me $1, psychologically, you have now said, I trust that person, and now I will give them $10 later. So in other words, if you could raise $300,000 from one person, great, you raised $300,000. If you could raise $10,000 or $300,000 from 30 people, you've actually raised millions of dollars over the next few years because all those people, assuming the deal goes well, are now going to fund you in the future, and it's way easier to find people to give you 10 grand. Like almost anybody who has money will give you 10 grand just to try it out. So anyway, there's no number that's like right or wrong. It's more of like I would just try to get as many investors as I possibly could.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I never would have thought of that. You're building trust and you're building momentum faster than just one person. It's an amplifier.
I'd rather raise money from a lot of people and get a lot of people. Again, there are some additional complexities with that because then you have to open up like either a syndication or an investment club or something to be able to do it. But okay, that's good. Okay, let's answer a few of these deal specific questions you guys have in the chat. Ishak says, I hope I said that right. I'm looking to purchase my first property with 10 units. I've previously acquired 2 to 4 unit properties. The property has structural issues and a court injunction. He's accounted for the costs. They've accounted for the costs, but it's currently vacant. How would you recommend approaching this? Yeah. Great question. So, I mean, the court injunction, I definitely don't know what that means in terms of like how bad that actually is and what that's going to take to figure it out. But I'm assuming you figured that out, that you've looked over that risk. And the structural issues, I'm assuming you're talking about you figured out exactly what it's going to take to fix the thing. I would just say every rehab project I've ever done has gone over budget. Every one I've ever done. And so know that it's going to go over budget. I just did a rehab on my house. My budget was $250. In the middle of the project, he's like, I can't do this for $250. It's going to be more like $400. I'm like, all right. And then when it all was said and done, it was $750. So like, that happens, and it's hard to control. So know that whatever price you think you can get it done for, it's going to be more than that. So make sure you are estimating conservatively.
Yeah.
10 units is a hard. I love 10-unit properties. Like that size is really hard, and that's why I love it because a lot of people don't like those. It's hard to manage those type of units because it's not big enough for like on-site management like you get at like a 50 unit or 100 unit. But it's not a single family house, so you still get like more difficult tenants sometimes that are more transient in nature. But I still love them. But just make sure you run your numbers carefully. This is what I teach more than anything else online, is understanding how to actually run the numbers on a rental property using things like vacancy, like taking into fact that your unit's going to be vacant 5% of the time, which means if your rent is $1,000 a month, it's really not. It's really $950. And repairs are 5 to 10%. And CapEx, which is like saving up for new refrigerators and roofing and flooring, that's another 5 to 10%. And so by the time you're done with all that, like you got 20% gone just on vacancy, repairs, and maintenance, and in CapEx. And so run the numbers correctly. And if anybody wants to, like, I teach a deal analysis challenge. Just you'll see it on my Instagram if you're following me on Instagram. I broadcast it all the time. But like just like 3 days to teach you how to underwrite a deal. So learn how to underwrite that deal really, really well. Again, I don't know you, so I don't know. I'm assuming you can do it. Yeah, it's all math. It's math and management. Like run the numbers, and then just learn how to execute well.
That's good advice. Know your numbers. Run them again. Run them a third time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what we got. What's considered a good or acceptable cash flow income from a rental property for a small investor?
Yeah, I used to say $100 per month per unit is what I wanted to get in cash flow from like a normal traditional rental. So if I was in a duplex, like I'd like it to make me a couple $100 a month after everything's all said and done. Now that said, this might be a little bit deep, but I'll go here because this is, I think, important. And this is good for just investors or agents to understand how investors think. If I told you, this is a thought experiment, everybody. If I told you that rental property over there, if you buy it, you're going to make $1 million a year in cash flow, is that a good deal? What do you guys think? $1 million a year if you buy that property, is that a good deal? Well, it depends, right? What's it depend on? How much money you had to buy it for, right? So that's where, so cash flow, the actual dollar amount, like I say, I want $100 per month per unit. That's a good number maybe. But again, did I put in $1 or did I put in $100,000? Did I put if I put $1 million in and I made $1 million in profit, that's 100% return. That's great. If I put in $1 billion and only made back $1 million, well, shoot, that's a 0.1% return. That's a terrible return. I can get way better just putting my money in a bank CD. So the two things matter when it comes to cash flow. Two things that matter: the actual dollar amount in cash flow and your return percentage. Like, what's your cash on cash ROI? Which is your return. Like, what does your money make? I put in 100,000. I made back 10,000. That is a 10% cash on cash return in my first year. And so that my general number is I want $100 per month per unit, and I'd like at least 8 to 10% in cash on cash return. So if you want a real ballpark, that's what I shoot for. Obviously, if I can get better, great, but that would be like bare minimum.
Okay, that's good, man. I appreciate that. Well, everybody, we'll take maybe one or two more questions, and then we are going to wrap it up. So if you have any last ones, I'm going to pick one more live one, and then one more that's already in here. We got one. Okay, this is a good one. I'm currently in the process of closing on a single-family home in Texas through rent to retirement. It's a different process. I believe rent to retirement is more turnkey.
Yep.
Since they don't really have agents, they have builders, yada yada. I'm more hands-on. Main question: would you suggest going the route rent to retirement has loans set up with 30-10 interest-only payments? 10 years interest only? Is this going to bite me in the butt? It cash flows now with interest-only payments, but would be negative if it was P&L payments.
It's a loaded question. One. Yeah, it's a great question. I've never been asked this before. So in commercial real estate, when I do a lot of like the bigger stuff, interest-only is very common. It's the only way we really ever do anything. Almost everything's interest only the first few years. Nothing would cash flow without it. So I don't want to say don't do it because of that. Like it could work. That said, I do not believe there's a lot of conflicting data out there. I don't know if we're going to see rents just massively climb for the next 20 years like we did the last 20 years. I think we're at a period of more like staying the same for quite a while. And so I would be worried about a deal that only cash flowed without making the normal principal payments. And also, when you're paying interest only, you're not paying the loan down, which is a big part of building wealth, is paying that loan off. And so I'd get nervous that way. I also, and I have no idea about rent to retirement's numbers. I've not looked at them in a long time. But I just know a lot of times when you buy these turnkey properties that look like they're going to cash flow, just make sure you run the numbers yourself, not just their numbers, and know that you will have vacancy, even if it's only 3% of the time, and you're going to have some repairs, even if it's a brand new house. In fact, my newer houses break more often than my older houses. There's just something about newer houses, they just break more. And so like you will have repairs, even if it's slightly smaller. So make sure you're estimating at least, 3 to 5% for each repair and maintenance and for CapEx and for the vacancy. So, minimum 10% of the rent is gone just on those three things. And if it still cash flows on interest only, yeah, I'd probably still do it. Especially if it gets you in the game.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a home run for you. That's not going to get you financial freedom overnight, but it gets you in the game. It sounds pretty low risk, and yeah, it'll change your identity a little bit into an investor.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right, last question here. Here we go. Okay, Art says there were probably 2 or 3 questions along these lines. I'm an investor. How do I drop an agent who lacks experience or expertise? I have about a month in with this person. Or I guess the flip side would be like, how do you, if you have an agent who you're struggling with and you're not getting what you need out of them, how do you motivate them? How do you change them? Or how do you kindly cut the relationship?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have, so I would, this applies to more than just that specific question too. It's like when you have an employee who's just not good, like how do you know when to fix somebody, try to fix somebody, and when to just let go of somebody, right? And a lot of times when I've had bad employees or bad agents that I've worked with over the years, most of the time I can point to myself as the reason why it's bad. Because I gave unclear expectations. I didn't tell them what I actually wanted. I wasn't clear enough. I'm not responding to their emails quick enough. And so most of the time it's myself. So I always want to be cognizant of that first. And if that's the case, then I'm going to fix myself first. If it really is, they're just not responsive. Like every time I text them, they take a couple of days to get back to me. I mean, yes, I could talk to them about it, and I probably would. To be like, hey, I'm really worried about losing deals here. You know, like, do you have an assistant? And I'd probably even just say, do you have an assistant I can text to get back quicker calls, or is that something like I should just expect working with you? And if they'll always say, oh no, I'll do a lot better, right? And I'd probably give them one more shot. And if they sucked at it, yeah, I would not work with them, and I'd just move on. I mean, agents are not hard to. That sounds mean, but like it's not hard to fire them. You know, like it's not an employee, so there's no like weirdness there. It's just like, hey, I found somebody else.
Well, I love what you said on setting clear expectations too. That's so true.
Yeah.
Like you think you're not getting what you need. It's like, well, did you even say it in the first place? Did you give them your buy box? You know?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's why I always want to give agents clear feedback, and I want to reward them for good behavior. Right? That sounds weird, but like it's like if they get back to me right away, I want to be like, hey, I love how you always return my text right away, even if you can't answer the whole thing. I love that you return my text telling me you're thinking about it or you saw it. Like they're like, oh, like nobody ever tells them they're doing a good job. Like everybody loves to hear that they're doing a good job. So I try to reward good behavior and I try to nip bad behavior in the bud. But yeah, it took me 3 or 4 agents to get to one that I really, really liked.
Yeah.
And it was a little awkward because I don't think I did a good job of it in the moment. I didn't really tell one that I was done with them. I just started working with another one. And again, now today I'm like, oh, that was probably a little bit of a jerk thing to do. It was probably like they probably just heard it from somebody else. Like, oh yeah, Brand's working with them now. And they're probably like, wait, really?
Yeah.
I probably should have been more confrontational or at least more direct and been like, you know, hey, I appreciate you, but now I got this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense, man. Well, cool. We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for answering those questions. It's been a really good conversation for me. It's been fun, man.
Well, thanks, man.
Any parting words? Yeah. Yeah.
Just that, like, again, 80-20 rule applies. If you haven't heard of the 80-20 rule, look it up. But it's like 20% of all, like 20% of investors out there are going to do more business than 80% of them. And then 20% of that 20% will do more than 80% of the remainder. In other words, like the top 4% of investors will do like 60% of all deals. And so like focus on that 4%. Like how do you find the 20% of the 20%? How do you find the really good ones that are actually doing most of the work? There are 11 million real estate investors in America. Found that out today. I'd heard the number before, but I researched it, and sure enough, there's 11 million real estate investors in America. 1 out of every 13 houses is sold to a mom and pop investor of some kind in America right now, which is wild. So they're out there, and they're buying a lot of real estate. I mean, there's 150,000 house flippers operating right now in America that are flipping houses. 150,000 of them. House flippers are great because that buy-sell cycle is so quick. You know, like they buy a house and they sell it, and you get commission on both sides, hopefully. So, yeah, they're out there. Have that abundant mentality to go out and find them.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that. Everyone, if you could do me a favor, tell Brandon thanks for his time in the chat. Just let us know your big takeaway. Tell him thank you. A couple really quick housekeeping items before we go. 1, thank you for hopping on. 2, I do these webinars every couple weeks. Our next one is actually coming up next Thursday, April 23rd with TransUnion, talking about all about how to screen tenants. So keep an eye on your inbox out for that. That's going to be a good one. You guys asked for it. Hopefully we'll deliver on it. And then lastly, if you have rentals and you're looking to, buy back some more of your time, manage easier, we would love to help you out. So if you're not familiar with RentRedi, we're an all-in-one app. It lets anyone self-manage rentals without the headache. It's simpler, more affordable than any other options. I'm convicted of that. You can collect rent, screen tenants, list units, maintenance, everything we've been talking about. Super affordable. It's simple and cost-effective enough to manage one unit. You can also scale to 100 units or more. I was just talking with a customer last week who's managing 130 units on RentRedi. I'm like, that's awesome, man.
That's awesome.
2 team members, 130 units on RentRedi. And then one cool thing we just released recently, you can, Brandon was just talking about, like, you need to understand cap rates. You need to understand your NOI, your cash on cash return. Now you can see all of that in the RentRedi app. So you can see how your portfolio is doing at a glance. So you can understand where to double down and where to dial back. So that's a really cool thing. But anyways, if you're a customer, if you're not yet a customer, either way, we would love to chat with you. We would love to help you on your journey. Feel free to book a call here, rentredi.com/call us. And we'd love to help you out. But anyways, we'll see you guys on the next webinar. And thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
All right. We'll see you guys.